Your skin instructor's tip of the week. If you want better results with your clients, start paying attention to how you're layering products in a routine and not just which products you're choosing. The order, texture, and compatibility of products can completely change how the skin responds. So for example, layering too many humectants without enough barrier support can actually increase your transepidermal water loss, especially in a compromised or reactive skin. Or applying active ingredients too close together without giving the skin time to adjust can lead to cumulative irritation, even if each product is gentle on its own. Instead of focusing only on ingredients, start thinking like a formulator. Consider how each step interacts with the next and whether the routine is actually supporting the skin or overwhelming it. Small adjustments in layering can make a huge difference in outcomes.
Welcome back to the Skin Instructors Podcast. I'm Morgan, and today we're getting into a topic that every esthetician will encounter over and over again in the treatment room, which is working with rosacea clients long term.
And I'm Jolie, and this is such an important conversation because rosacea is one of those conditions where your role as an educator is just as important as your role as a treatment provider. It's not just about what you're doing in the treatment room. It's about how you're guiding your client through the entire journey so they understand what's realistic, what to expect, and how to manage their skin outside of appointments.
Exactly, because rosacea is not something that we fix in a few visits.
Right.
It's something we manage over time, and the success of that management really depends on how well we set expectations from the beginning.
Absolutely. So jumping into that, one of the biggest mindset shifts we need to make as providers is understanding that rosacea requires long-term management, not just short-term correction. If we don't communicate that clearly during the consultation, we risk creating unrealistic expectations where the client is constantly chasing a cure instead of understanding the process.
Yeah, and that's where frustrations can start to build, because that client might initially see improvement in the beginning and then experience a flare up and feel like everything has stopped working. Mm-hmm. So from day one, we have to explain that rosacea is a chronic condition and it can fluctuate, and that progress will look like overall improvement and stability, not perfection.
Yeah, and I also think it's important to explain that their skin may go through different phases, especially if they are new to professional skincare or coming in with a history of using incorrect products. In those cases, their skin may initially be more reactive, and part of their journey is simply getting it to a more stable baseline. And truly, as their provider, you're probably going to have to keep reminding them of this. Like, I know it's so frustrating. Like, remember what we talked about in that first appointment. This isn't linear. We're going to have some ups and downs, but I'm here to help manage it in the long run.
Sometimes upside downs too.
Sometimes upside downs. Yeah. Now we want to start understanding those phases of the journey. And when we break rosacea down into those phases, it helps both us and the client stay focused and realistic about what we're working toward at each stage.
The first phase is calming and stabilizing the skin. So we talked a little bit about this last episode. This phase is where we're prioritizing reducing that inflammation in the skin. We're minimizing the triggers and supporting their skin barrier. And this phase is not about aggressive treatments or fast results. It's more about creating a foundation where the skin feels more comfortable and less reactive.
Yeah, and then we move on to the strengthening phase, where we can start introducing more supportive ingredients and, in some cases, very controlled and appropriate actives depending on the client's tolerance. This is where we begin to build resilience in the skin rather than just reacting to those flare-ups.
And finally, we have the maintenance phase, which is really the long-term goal. This is where the client understands their skin, they recognize their triggers, and they have a routine that keeps things as stable as possible. But even in maintenance, it's really important to let your clients know and remind them that flare-ups can happen. That doesn't mean that we've failed and that their routine isn't working.
So now we're moving on to why progress isn't linear in identifying those triggers. One of the most important conversations that you're going to have with rosacea clients is that their progress is not going to be linear. And that variability is completely normal with this condition. They may have weeks where their skin looks calm and then suddenly experience a flare up that feels like a setback.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And a lot of that comes down to their triggers, which can be very individualized and sometimes surprising to their client. And it's, the fact that it's so individualized, like, I would say that's one of the most important things that we have to share with our clients.
Yeah.
Just because you know somebody who also has rosacea doesn't mean that they're going to have the same triggers.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about skincare here. Triggers can include anything from spicy food, alcohol, caffeine, intense exercise, heat exposure, stress, cold weather, wind, hormonal fluctuations, not even just spicy food. Like, it could be any kind of
Acidic food.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dairy. Yeah. And coffee.
We could just sit here and name things
go down
all
the
day
list.
long.
Even something as simple as going from a cold outdoor environment into a heated indoor space that can cause that vascular changes that lead to redness and flushing. So it's just really important that clients understand their skin is responding to both internal and external factors, not just the products that they're using.
Right. Yeah, one of the best tools you can give your client is encouraging them to keep a simple journal or log of all of their flare-ups. And it could be the silliest things that you write down, but it truly could be one of your triggers.
Yeah.
Have them track things like what they ate that day, their activity level, the weather, their stress levels, what their skin looked like and felt like.
Yeah. And over time, patterns will start to emerge, and that gives both you and the client valuable insight to what might be triggering their rosacea. This also shifts the conversation from frustration to awareness, which is much more empowering for the client.
All right, let's talk about customizing their home care. So home care is not a one-size-fits-all approach with rosacea, and it should evolve through those phases. So as your client moves through this journey, in the beginning, we could be focusing more on calming the skin. We want to keep those routines very simple, supportive, with an emphasis on barrier repair and reducing inflammation.
And as the skin becomes more stable, we can begin to carefully introduce those ingredients that are going to help strengthen the skin and improve the overall function. Always paying attention to how the client's responding. This might include things like azelaic acid or very gentle exfoliation, maybe even some retinoids, but only when the skin's ready for it.
Absolutely. And then in the maintenance phase, it becomes more about consistency and balance, making sure your client isn't overdoing it and knows when to scale back if they feel a flare coming on.
Yeah, and this is also where education plays a huge role, because the more the client understands their skin, the more confident they become in managing it day to day.
Rosacea isn't just a physical condition. It really has a significant emotional impact on clients. My poor sister, she got to the point where she was just so distraught, and she just reached a point where she was feeling hopeless with her skin. And I'm so glad that, she came in and we got to work with her. But, it's really tough. The emotional toll is the same as, very similar to acne. And it's really important to keep that in mind when you're working with your clients.
Yeah.
It's very impactful to the clients, especially because it affects that central part of the face. That's what people see.
Yeah.
And clients feel self-conscious, frustrated, even embarrassed when they're experiencing that redness or flare up.
I know. And because it can be unpredictable, it can create a sense of anxiety where clients feel like they don't have control over their skin. That's why our role goes beyond treatments. We're also helping them feel supported and understood.
When we take the time to educate them and set those realistic expectations and then give them the tools to manage their skin, we're not just improving their skin. We can really affect their confidence and improve that too.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, though, was on the National Rosacea Society's website, they actually offer a already pre-made like log for clients
love
to
that.
track their triggers and flare-ups and things like that too. So that's kind of a nice printable guide for them also.
Love that.
Alrighty, so this week we want you to take a look at how you're currently guiding your rosacea clients and ask yourself if you're truly setting them up for long-term success.
Yeah, are you clearly explaining that this is a management journey, not a quick fix? And are you giving them the tools they need to handle flare-ups when they happen?
And if you're not already doing this, start incorporating a simple trigger journal for your clients so they can begin identifying patterns in their skin.
I love this. I think even taking it a step further and sending them home with a little guided sheet of, hey, I know you're in maintenance phase right now, but here's some signs of when you're having a flare, and this is how I want you to back off on these actives. Or you could have that as like a highlight on your Instagram. There's lots of ways that you can get that conversation going. If you love this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss a future episode.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram at ST Training for more education, tips, and behind the scenes content.
You can also find more resources and trainings on our website at www.stestitraining.com. And tomorrow, I'm so excited. We are officially going to launch our monthly subscription, and you can hop on the website and take a peek at that. We're really, really excited about it.
Absolutely. And as always, don't hesitate to educate.